more showings, more calls from realtors, and are they move-up buyers or first-time buyers?
Give me both.
Both. Okay. And how about refinance? You get much of that?
Not much.
Not much refinance. Okay. Is
It's
in
more like a second mortgage or like a secure line of credit because no one doesn't want to touch the first mortgage.
say it again. So the
So most of them are keeping the first mortgage and they're trying to do a second line
for
of credit.
refinance, just get a second mortgage. All right. Yeah. Alex? Yeah. So home equity line of credits, they reduced down to what, 60%?
65.
65% has been lowered down to that, but it also has, there's another component too, with something to do with the earnings. What's the other HELOC requirement?
You know, cannot exceed 60, just line of credit portion cannot exceed 65%.
I thought there was something else too. So that changed. Are you talking about that now?
Total just a kilo. Just line.
Just to, okay, that's a good question. So HELOC. So if you got a first mortgage at 50% of the value, can you get a HELOC for another 15%? Is that the idea?
Okay.
Okay. So the total debt can't be more than 65, including the first. All right. So that's it. Are you having any still with Rand? Are you having any clients come to you saying, "Hey, my mortgage is coming up. I've got a 30% increase in the payments. What can we do?"
Yeah, we're getting a lot of those calls. Most of them are like a consolidation, like a debt consolidation. Paying off the line of credit card, give them a better cash flow.
So it's a whole big picture. So it's just not they're going to have an increase in their payments. So you just try to consolidate all their debts and try to reduce everything down all at the same time. You guys have any clients like that at all? That people have the mortgages that are having to come up and renegotiate it quite a bit higher.
They're offering like lump sum interest payment at a time.
Okay. Some people are like a prepaid interest or offering prepaid. Yeah, that's okay. Didn't the government stop the amortization? Some are getting up to 80, 90 years. I think they're trying to restrict those too, right? You know?
Yeah, I think they're working on the OSFI working on those.
So they haven't decided just yet. Okay, so that'd be coming down the tubes.
I have a question. Which one is better? Paying lump sum at a time is better or increasing the payment better?
I think paying lump sum
Is better.
That question then was, should somebody increase their payments or should pay a lump sum payment to reduce the principal? Lump sum payment's always been better.
Regular payments.
Yeah, because you're not if you do your lump sum payment, you're not paying interest on the 25 years on that payment.
And they are giving in how much more of your loan, like 110%. They are giving the limit. But you can't
I don't know about
increase
that part, so it depends. Yeah, I can talk about that one. So right now we've got 20,065 active listings. This time last week we had 20,200. So active listings have actually gone down, which means they sold. Right? That's my thought, anyways. We got 1,635. 1,635.
Today's the 13th.
Yeah.
That's 12 days.
That's 12.
It's
So
2.5 time.
Yeah.
And that's the 4,000 listing will sell.
Yeah.
That's 1 out of 5 will sell.
Yeah. Yeah. So the market's okay. So 1 out of 5 sells. So you just want to make you want to make sure you're
the 4.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're 1 of the 5, right?
Are you the 1 or the other 4?
I'm seeing a lot of council relists, which is important. You have to do that. Council relist is another thing. You have to do that if the property's sitting there.
All of them are canceling and want us to.
Gotta be careful. Gotta be careful with your staging, right? I mean, we're telling everybody here, we've been saying this for about a year now. Offer staging, offer the client to pay for staging. You offer, if you're going to pay for staging, offer to reimburse them for staging. Don't pay for up front. Because you're paying staging up front and they think they're going to get $1.4 million for a property today that's worth 1.2, they're not going to sell it and you're going to be out $3,000 for staging. Right? And then I've had so many people say, okay, I'll sign a form. If we cancel the listing or take it off the market, I'll pay you back. Okay. I haven't seen that work yet either. So who knows, right? Okay, so I want to give myself half hour to talk about TRESA, but let me just do a couple other things first. Suddenly, Toronto homes homes aren't selling, even the desirable ones, and here's why. They're saying that the homeowners are to blame. So you remember then when the prices were going up back in the 21, I guess 22, the prices were going up. Who are they blaming for the prices going up? Realtors, right? Because we're holding off offers and demanding higher things and multiple offers and over asking. Now that's going the other way. Now the realtors are blaming homeowners for not selling because they're unrealistic with their pricing. They still want the $1.4 million for a property that maybe sold for 1.2, like maybe should sell for 1.2 to be 20% reduction, a little less. But now that 1.2 has gone down to 1.1 or 1.05. Case in point, townhouses, newer townhouses. They were selling, let's say, anywhere, but they were selling for what, $1.2 million, $1.3 million? You're talking about the urban townhouses or the relatively new townhouses that got in 1 point, in that range. Now they can't even get $1 million.
It can even get 900.
Can't even get 900. I was going to say that even so, but the sellers still want their 1.1 million. Right? So when you're listing properties, make sure there's motivation, make sure they understand what's going on, and being nice and not telling the truth and being on their side. And yes, we can get it, and I hope we can get it, and yes, we can do it. You're not helping anybody. Right? So it's just a matter of reducing itself. So that's what they're saying here. This one particular case, this one had a property in Etobicoke. I assume Etobicoke is the same as Scarborough. They had a property, it was a bungalow. They tried to list it for 1.4. The agent tried to convince them to reduce the price. They finally urged them to drop it by 400,000. It finally sold for 995. That was a $400,000 drop. And this is the point of the article. They wanted to drop 100 grand. They wanted to drop 200 grand. The agent said, no, it's got to be like 400,000. Here you go. So this is what's going on today. And that's the world. Enormous community with 5 condo towers planned next to the Toronto Mall. So a lot of this is going on. You guys notice a lot of malls now are shutting down, and they're putting condos in the parking lots. A lot of this stuff's happening. There was a very good project in Pickering. There's I think Markham is trying to do it as well, but we got some not my backyard people complaining about that one. So what's going on? This one here is 100 Burrell Drive. And 100 Burrell Drive's in Scarborough, and there's, if you guys know the area at all, there's the big federal government building, big gray building with all the Federal Service Canada and all the stuff's there. And this one here used to be Bell Ken. It's around the corner. It's a 6-story office building. It's been vacant now for a couple of years, waiting for this development. And this is what they're doing now. So they're going to actually do that. So there'll be big development. They're going to the Scarborough Town Center. Have a look and see what's going on there. New condo sales, according to the new builders, their prices, their units have dropped 47% for new sales. Anybody notice any for sale signs for new builds? Have you been downtown at all? You see those sandwich boards? They're all over the place trying to sell stuff. Has anybody got calls from pre-construction companies? What was the latest incentive I saw? Again, back for Scarborough, I think they're giving $80,000 incentives. They're willing to pay like the first 1 year or 2 years of a mortgage payment. They're prepared to give you free parking. They're prepared to give you free offers. They're doing everything to try to make this happen, right? But they're not going to drop the price. But I think in one case, it said they're giving $80,000 in incentives, but they still don't want to drop the price. So what?
Because they're so property that high price.
Well, that's right. So Chris here talked about something. He said that okay, this is all new developers. The new developers are giving what? I think one developer was giving gold bars or something. Yeah, so still giving gold bars. What are we doing on the resale side to get your property sold? What's going on there? And he talked about increasing the interest rate. I never thought increasing the interest rate the co-op agent would work, because I always believe that the buying agent is working for their buyer, and they're not going to make them buy a property that's not worth the value just because he's getting paid extra money. But maybe I'm wrong. Chris was suggesting, oh, I'm wrong. What do you guys think? If you had I don't know, 2 properties that were almost identical, one paid 2.5, one paid 3%, would that have an influence on your? Remember, I'm on YouTube right now.
No.
I don't think it will. I think you're so important your client. Right? I don't know. We're definitely in a buyer's market territory for the first time in decades. We're seeing that. Gold bars. Advertising. Again, we're talking about all these signs all over the place. I've sent out this a couple times. Your realm training, getting all caught up in TRESA, but realm training is coming around too. So has anybody been using the realm at all? No, I'm almost exclusively realm now. You're exclusively realm. Yeah. So I'm seeing some. Yeah. So those people that are resisting, you're going to come over to the other side eventually.
You're gonna have to in February. So.
Eventually. But I find it okay. So those people, I got Alex and Jen here. So do you find it better or same? I think it's better. Yeah. I think it's better too. All right. So try it. We did send out this, and maybe we'll try to do it again. It's just the little 12 little chapters of 1-minute videos on how to set up searches or how to set up your contacts or how to, this is all realm, right? It's a quick little thing that Katelyn did some time ago there. So maybe have a look at that. We can fire that one out again, just to do it, just a quick little course and see what's happening. Okay, so how about we talked about listing recap. Who all here is getting every night? You guys are getting the new office listings. You're getting those every night, 9 o'clock. Some people are, some people aren't.
Because we manually forced it for every single.
Oh, you did already?
Yes.
Okay, so we did already. So take care of that.
We defaulted to the daily listing and the open houses. But if you want real-time listings or price changes or assignments, you can sign up for those individually yourselves. But everybody should be daily and open houses. Thanks to the front desk lady.
Good. Last week I talked about the new tech out there. So the Fin Tracker is something you may want to seriously consider. Fin Tracker is used to identify your clients. All you do is you take the app, download the app, take your client's driver's license, take a picture of the back of the driver's license, and it fills out the Fin Track form about 80%. All you have to go do then is fill out the other 20% and here's your Fin Track done. So try that app. That's a good app. The Ontario Realtor WP, what is it? ORWP.
Sorry, what's the app called?
Fin Trackers. Fin Trackers, name of that app. For those people that are interested in the Ontario Wellness something plan. Thank you. Ontario Realtor Wellness Plan, right? As I said last week, the silent majority is not going to speak. That's fine, but the loud majority is speaking. So there is going to be a survey sent out on November the 21st from TREB, just to get your opinion as to what you think about the program. I'd be surprised if they're going to ask questions like, "Do you want it or do you not want it?" I'd be surprised. I bet it's going to be more of a survey saying, well, what it does, but. And how great it is, and did you know, like the survey, how much money you get if you die? And I think I have a feeling it's going to be that kind of survey rather than a survey that you don't want. On November 29th, boards outside Toronto. Toronto represents like 40% of all the votes. So boards outside the TREB, they want a special meeting. They called a special meeting on November 29th, just to discuss whether or not they want to go forward or not. And Tim Hudak sent you all an email saying that if this group decides they don't want it, then the whole program disappears. But I read that this is not what the conversation of that meeting was. The conversation of the meeting was that they don't have physical time to get all their members signed up to the proper paperwork for this pension plan or for this wellness plan. I thought that's the purpose of the meeting, but we'll find out. Anybody else know what's happening on November 29th? That's where we get our new forms.
New forms and new phones.
Oh, that's right. We got all kinds of stuff. We get new phones too. So those people in Don Mills and here, we're going to switch over to VoIP phones, which is probably the biggest mistake we ever made or the best mistake we ever made. So
It's a forced tech update.
and just just so you know, like, Bell Canada, they pretty much increased our phone lines by about 30%.
Wow.
So it just they just decided that they wanted to do it in the bid, so. So they pretty much forced us to do that. Okay, so, everybody got the email notification when you logged into your TREB, you had to put in your current email address, you had to put in your cell number. Everybody's getting that now too, and the purpose of that is in the future, you're not gonna have the Clarity app to log into Toronto Malesh, you're gonna have the two-step verification. Which is a complete pain in the butt.
Yeah.
So everybody,
Every day.
yeah, well, I don't know if it's every time or not. Sometimes on two-step verification, you can sometimes say, remember me for the next 30 days or something. So sometimes you can do that. But you got to fill out that first part with your email and your phone number so they can do the two-step, send a notification to your phone. Okay. All right, now I want to share my screen, and we're not going to learn everything here, but I want to talk about the trust in real estate. I just want to get your heads in gear on what's going about and to answer the Bill's question.
This one or the
Yeah,
other one?
this one's okay. So what I'm going to talk right now, I'm going to go briefly on this part here, and then I'm going to talk about, or am I going to talk about? I wanted to talk about self-represented people, but I think I'll save that for another time and maybe address the Bill's question and stuff. So can everybody see this online? Can you see it behind me? All right, so we went to an October 25th meeting. We went to a meeting on Friday, and all pretty much the same stuff. Still very confusing, but it's all there. We've already done phase one. Phase one, we allowed your precs and stuff, so I'm not going to get involved with that. Phase two, we're into phase two right now. These forms here on the right, plus the buyer customer service agreement, is the seller commission agreement for cooperation for property already listed. You use that form 202 with your mirror postings. All right. And then the second one, the seller customer service agreement, use that if the buyer doesn't want to sign a contract, so also now he's a customer instead. Remember that? All these three forms are disappeared now. These forms are no longer available and no longer to be used.
No more customer at all. You will never see that word again on any forms.
And I want you to remember this words here as we go through all these things here on a self-represented person, like what used to be a customer. We're not allowed to work with a self-represented person, or we're not allowed to work with we're not allowed to get paid by a self-represented person. I'll let it go with that for now. So if somebody's self-represented, you're not allowed to get paid by them. There's ways around it. So those forms are gone. What they're going to be replaced though is, for instance, and I don't know why they're really into this self. I mean, double N's and self-represented represents such a small minority of all the business that we do, but they spent 99% of the time talking about it. So how do I get around that? I'm going to get caught in the same trap.
It's because they put it first.
I don't want to get caught in the same trap. So I'm gonna talk about it, but briefly. Self-represented person. All right, let's get into it. Okay, can you open up the other one like that? Who would be a self-represented person? You're doing an open house. Somebody comes in your open house. Is that person your client? Can't be a customer. So now they're considered to be self-represented. What can you do as a self-represented person? Well, that's right. And I'm talking about people that come in an open house. I'm talking about people that call you off an internet ad. People that call you off some type of ad. They phone you your property. As long as you're selling your client's listings, as long as you have a listing to sell, you can deal with anybody you want. As long as, because now you're servicing your client. But this gets past that. So if the self-represented person wants to buy another property, you're in an open house, they come to your property and they don't like your property, but they like the one down the street. One down the street is not listed by you. This person hasn't signed an agreement with you. You're not allowed to show that property to him. Well, this is where we're gonna turn off the YouTube video.
And this is if the person says, I don't have an agent, I don't want an agent, I'm self-representing myself. Not if they say, okay, I'm okay to use you as my agent. This is if they do not want to use any agent at all.
So this person, I'm sorry. I mean, the law guys, they talk what they're going to talk about, but I know it's in the street level. You guys aren't even have a conversation. This guy comes to you on an open house or calls you off an ad. You're not going to say to him, "You self-represented. Did you sign something? Did you do this?" You're not going to drill him with 1,000 questions. You're going to answer his questions. That's what you're going to do because you're trying to make money, right? What kind of assistance? So assistance, we're allowed to give assistance to self-represented person. We're not allowed to represent them. Simply put, if they're going to put an offer in, sign them up to a BRA. There's no self-represented person and they're going to make money. You've got to sign a BRA. That's all it is. And the BRA is going to be for 1 day, 1 hour, one property, whatever it might be. So that's going to be your question. All right. So what do you do when self-represented? The guy wants to see the property across the street. No problem. Sign this BRA for me. The one property shows property. You're going to show it. You're done.
That because they're buying.
Well, just for that one property. Now they've become a client, right? Or if you don't want to go that far and it's not your listing, you can provide assistance, but they're saying, well, I'll just read it. Another commonly asked question is what kind of assistance is permitted if no closed list of permitted activity. So what residents need to keep in mind is that any assistance provided must meet the test of being a service or incident or service. So there's two different things between assistance and service, distinctly different things. And assistance is the assistance of service or incident provided to your client. So in this case, no, I'm talking about an ad call or somebody walking in an open house. Is the assistance in the best interest of your client? No, it's not. Right? Guy doesn't want to buy your property. If the answer is no to these questions, and don't do it. So you're saying not allowed to give assistance to this guy. This is what we're reading. All right.
If they're self-represented, if they do not want to use you as an agent.
Correct. Does the assistance include options or advice as the price to offer accept? So now, okay, wait, now we're getting to trading. Now we're at the point where we're putting a pen to paper. Now I can see where you want to have a BRA or something. But prior to that, I don't think you do. With the assistance or how is provided encourage self-represented party to rely on your knowledge or skill? No, without an agreement, they can't rely on your skill or your knowledge. You just have to listen to you. You can give them comparables, you can give them facts about general information, but if they say that I want to buy this property with is a fridge included, now we're getting more details. Now it's something different. So now we want to start talking.
Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, let's say the buyer is not represented and he wants to buy the property you are listing.
Correct.
When you take his offer, what is the relationship with this buyer?
All right. So Nabil's saying here that if you've got an open house and a buyer comes to you and they don't want representation, but they want to buy that property, what can you do? Right. So to assist your client, because it's his listing, right? You're going to get a form signed. It's called a self-represented consent. So the buyer's going to sign an agreement saying, hey, I'm not represented. He's going to sign that and acknowledge it. And you can go ahead and type the offer.
Well, you will also do, it's called limited service though. So you'll have a schedule that says, I am going to type an offer. And you're going to very clearly say what you're going to do for that self-represented party on paper. So that'll be an amendment, Schedule A.
You don't have to repeat clearly. Like the
No.
customer service.
They're
No.
self-represented,
No,
but
you're
you're
not-
providing a limited service.
You're not treating
to
it.
them.
You're not treating it anything, right?
So. there's the-
But you need some documentation to support it, either a BRA or they have to acknowledge that they're self-represented, then you'd have to do a limited service that says you're gonna show that person this property. So BRA is what you'll need.
So what you're physically going to do, you're going to book the appointment. You're going to meet them there and you say, look, before we go into this house already, I have to get you to sign this self-represented consent. All right. Or we can get you to sign this BRA for this property. All right. Start with that, right?
Yes,
And it's a BRA, one property, one thing. So this is what they're telling
we
us,
should
right?
back up
so
and
that
explain
BRA
this one.
should be on that address.
Correct. Yeah. Well, as an agent, you want general, but basically you want to put that address just to cover.
Yeah,
it.
there's.
Only your listing.
Oh, no, what, he's talking about another listing.
Look for someone else who can do that.
That's what I'm saying now. If you show up, it's not your listing.
Right.
It's an ad call, it's an internet call. Right? At the earliest opportunity, you should try to get that self-represented consent form signed or a BRA for the one property
After showing that,
before showing.
the.
Before showing.
Before showing, we do the.
Yeah, you're not allowed to give, not allowed to give service without,
The clients see the property and then we come out and it says, I wanna. See
yeah, let me
more
just,
property here."
yeah, let me read this for you. Can I show a property to a buyer who's self-represented? RICO has received questions about performing specific activities for a self-represented party, for example, whether the registry can show a property to a buyer who is self-represented. If the seller is your client, yes, of course you can. If the seller is not your client, showing the property would be a service to the represented buyer, service already provided to clients. Therefore, if the self-represented buyer wants to service a resident, they need to enter a representation agreement.
Yeah, so I think the central registration only fits your listing.
No, that's what I just said.
Okay, if you.
No, read this again. Read this again. If the seller is not your client,
Right.
showing the property would be a service, which is not allowed.
What's that?
Unless you have a
So
BRA.
unless-
to have a
unless-
BRA, if they don't
BRA.
have a BRA, that's what I meant.
That's right. And the BRA, that's right. And the BRA would be for the one property.
It sounds harsh, but it's not a terrible way to protect yourself for doing the work of showing that particular client, right? So it's good practice in general.
Yeah,
So there, that means, no more multiple representation.
No,
Alright.
no, so that's a whole nother kettle of worms. I'll get into later on. And here we go. Again, all the meetings I've been to, 95% of the times we talked about self-represented people and multiple representation, which only represents 5% of the business. Let's talk about the other stuff. Okay, so let's get into the other stuff right now. When you've got a seller, you want to go buyer side or seller side? Let's go seller side. There's a new form called a RICO information guide. It's a mandatory guide. It has to be presented to your clients, buyers, or sellers at the earliest opportunity. They did send it out on Friday. I did print it out, and I went back in to do it a second time, and it wasn't there. They've taken it off. It talks about what the agent does, what self-representation means, what buyers do, what sellers do, and it goes into the whole big idea of everything that happens in real estate. Try to educate your client with what's going on with real estate, and unfortunately, it is 13 pages long, and you're expected to give this to them before you provide any services, before they sign any contracts. 13 pages.
You should just send it to your whole database right now. To everybody. Everybody should just look at it.
So here it is here. Now, what Rico's telling you at the open houses, when somebody comes in the open house, they want to see the house, they say you should give this to the buyer and you should give the self-representative to the buyer and get the knowledge them both, and then you can show them the property. Not gonna happen. Right? Working with the real estate agent, knowing the risks of representing yourself, sign a contract with the real estate broker, multiple representation not permitted unless you agree, how to make a complaint. Nice. That's on the first page.
First page.
How to make a complaint, right? So Rico said that they've created an app. And this has to be acknowledged, and if you ever get caught brought to task, you have to show that this was given to the client. You're either going to email them to them, or Rico's got an app that will send them a link, and the link will be sent to them, and as soon as they open the link, it will be sent to you saying confirmation that you saw the link. So you've satisfied what you have to do.
It's also on the working with a realtor, there's a checkbox that you can acknowledge that your client received the RICO guide.
So anyways, at the end of the day, I don't want anybody getting all freaked out. At the end of the day, all it is paperwork. Okay. And at the end of the day, you still have to make a living. At the end of the day, you're going to go out and sell houses. But it's just a matter of getting the paperwork in order. That's all it is. So you got this working with the realtor, 13 pages. You're gonna get them to sign it, acknowledge it that they read it. And you're gonna read it yourself too. Yeah, they talk about some good things in here though. It's actually kind of fun.
How many pages?
13.
They're trying to explain the cons of being self-represented to help you to get a client. So they're not advocating to be self-represented. They're showing the client the cons of doing that.
So in there, for instance, talking about the BRA in the States, in this one here, they're saying here that the commission is paid by the seller, and they're asking the seller to pay not the cooperating agent, they're saying to pay the buying agent 2.5%. They don't even talk about agent. So they reword it in such a way that it's the seller that's offering money to the buyer, not the buyer's agent. So they sort of went around what's going on in the States. It's a little bit different. I think I copied it. 4 minutes.
So what's the difference between the buyer agent and co-operating? It's the same.
No. Like you're going to take a 5% listing, you're going to do 2.5% co-op to the buying side.
Yeah, which is the buyer agent.
Buyer's agent. So if you're a seller, you decide how much information you want to share about your competing offers, fine. I'm not going to go to competing offers. That's fine. So you got this form. Once they've published it again, I'll send it out the second time. But this will have to be done and away you go. So now they have this, but really haven't done anything yet. So now they want to put an offer in. So now they've read the stuff. Now we have to do what's called working with the realtor, which has already been there. But working with the realtor right now, the two options are what? Customer or client, right? The new working realtor, it's self-represented or client. Same thing, right? So just another piece of paper. It's the same paper you've already got, right? The listing agreement. You're going to have a standard listing agreement, Form 200. Except now, they didn't put a schedule. You've got to do an amendment. Two things. On the listing agreement, we haven't decided which way to go, but I think we'll have to go designated reps. I think so. Anyways. There's a designated rep on there, which got your name on there, and I don't want to do designated representation, but I have a feeling I can't control it. Right on the listing agreement, it says very clearly the name of the company and the address, designated representation, and agent's name. So it doesn't matter how long I talk here and say, don't fill that out. I know agents will.
What if we just delete it from the form?
And there's not, and I asked them at the meeting, is there a form that does not have designated representation? He said no. So designated representation means that you are the rep for that seller. I'm talking about listing side right now. You are the rep for that seller. Tess is the rep. Tess says, hey, I'm going to go on vacation for 2 months. I'm going to get Nabil to run my business. She's got to do an amendment to the listing and add Nabil to be designated representation. You can have 100. Right? Any questions?
When they come back up front for the signing?
You two have to have your own agreement.
Oh.
Right? You two have to have your own agreement. But so is that going to happen? I prefer to be what they call brokerage representation, which is what we have right now. Brokerage representation is what we have right now, which means we all represent that seller.
We can all help each other.
We all help each other, and then if some seller gets mad at us and wants to cancel listing, no problem, we'll give it to this person. But right now, I almost need their permission to be able to do it. So one thing I've added more paperwork to the schedule. This is my idea. I'll change it. It says right in the schedule that the brokerage has the right to reassign another designated representation at their will at any time during the contract.
And that has to go on the listing on the MLS listing as well, or
Has to go on.
the,
No, it has to go on. It has to be a schedule to the listing agreement.
and then does the original agent get paid, or so where the commission gonna go to the?
That's something separate. So it's something separate.
This is just the listing agreement.
Just the listing agreement, and yeah, just the listing agreement. And sorry, in the BRA, same thing. You got a BRA, you also have a designated representation BRA. So if you're going to go on vacation, got to amend your BRA to include that other person.
So if the property is sold while I am away and the designated agent sell it, then when the receipt on it, so the designated agent sold it.
Yeah.
Not the.
Well, no, you both can be on it. So you're not removing yourself, you're adding somebody else.
So there'll be like two agents.
Yeah.
Two isn't gonna be. on.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
adding,
your
you're
amendment
adding,
will
you're
add
adding
that
something.
removal.
I don't worry with that part, so I don't care with that part.
The brokerage-
Correct. So Jen's asked a great question. So going back to the 5% of all business, what they're concerned about is multi-representation. So as a brokerage right now, if one of you guys sell an office listing or a buyer, you have multi-representation because it's broker is the rep. On the new system with designated reps, it's not the case anymore. So Jen's got designated rep for the seller, you designated rep for the buyer. You guys do a deal. It's not multi-representation because it's two different.
That's the one benefit of designated
That is
representative.
the only benefit of this whole thing. That
But
happens less than what?
we had a question on Facebook. If you're showing your seller's property to a self-represented buyer and they put in an offer, is that multiple representation? If they're self-represented?
No. It's not, because that self-represented person is not represented. Another thing on the list right now, you guys will say, I'll stage, I'll paint, I'll do open houses, whatever you're gonna do, whatever promises that you've made that you're gonna pay is gonna cost money, it has to be a schedule on the listing. That's no big deal, right? So I agree to pay for, I agree to stage the property, you gotta write that in, I agree to do open houses every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Actually, you know what? I wouldn't put anything with open houses.
No.
I wouldn't, if you want to put no open houses, but I wouldn't pay anything with open houses. But are you going to pay for the lawyer? You're going to pay for staging, you're going to pay for I don't know, what else are you going to pay for? Are you going to reduce your commission if you sell it yourself? You guys have those conversations? It's 5% commission. If we sell myself, I'm going to charge 3.5. Yeah, that has to be in writing.
Which should have been already.
Should have been, had to be in writing all before anyways, but now they're making extra clear that it's gonna be done.
Now they're creating the question in seller's mind.
Right.
Yeah. That these are the things.
Well,
that
if this 13-page thing says right in it, be clear of what your agent's charging for commission and be clear what the co-op commission is and be clear what happens if he sells it himself, be clear if a self-represented person sells it, be clear if a co-op sells it, be clear if another agent from the office sells it. It's all in this guide. So all those things also have to be in the schedule for the listing if you've made the promise. And this goes back to what I'm talking about again. If you've made no promises, then you sign that listing and run.
So if you didn't make any promise, you don't need to sign. the
Correct.
schedule.
If there's no promises,
So then
that's
there's no issue.
correct. So be careful what you're doing and saying out there. So even though it sounds like bad, you gotta write this stuff down. Who says you have to promise anything? If you sell it yourself, what's the commission? 5%.
If you sign somebody up on a BRA, just on one property, would you also have to give them that 13 days?
Yes, yes, everybody you deal with has to get that 13 page.
So buyer gets used to it.
Buyer can.
Then very quickly they understand that they have to sign this.
So the other good thing is, and she was right, the other good thing is it's not just us, it's the entire Ontario people have to do this. So it's not like you're saying you gotta sign this agreement for me to show your property. Everybody's gonna do that. So it's not just us. And I could be all wrong. I mean, might be in a whole lot of direction here. If you have assistants, okay, if you're a team leader or you have somebody back in the office, like that's you know, an assistant or whatever they're doing, they have to be on that agreement if they're licensed.
And what I do now.
Listen agreement.
If you're using designated representation.
Right.
Not if you do brokerage representation.
Still got your fin track. Still got physical copies of POAs if we happen to have those. Seller directions for offers, a new form, 209. Your seller says, hey, you don't have to do it now, you can do it later, you can do it time when you get offers, but the seller has the option now to disclose the contents of the offer. He can disclose what he wants to disclose or she wants to disclose, and not disclose what they don't want to disclose. They can change their mind halfway through. So you can take a listing now and hopefully get offers, multiple offers. And if you get multiple offers, then your seller at some time might say, well, I want to share the content of these offers. Then there's a form called Form 209. Seller gives you written instructions to disclose the closing date or disclose the price or disclose whatever they want to disclose. And you have, now the right to disclose that information to any other registered office. You can do it high tech. Sky Slope Offers is coming down the tubes pretty soon, where you can do it high tech, where you can load up the high tech stuff, or you can do it low tech, meaning you write down on a piece of paper and you phone everybody, just like you've always done. Okay, so don't let this part confuse you. You can always do what you always did, but you're going to be smart when it comes to this, and we'll trade more on that. So if you've got multiple offers and $1 million property, and one's 3 of them are 900,000, and one of them is like $1 million. If you were to show those offers to everybody else, the next highest offer you can get is going to be $1 million, $1,025,000. Right? But if you set them all back, saying no, you're all kind of close, but I'll go back another round. You might get 1.1, you might get 150. What you going to get, right? Or let's say also now you get down to the final, you've gone back and forth. And now you've got two guys that are sitting at 1.1, and anybody had this? You got two offers that are relatively the same. You can't make a choice. Your client's going to flip a coin. Does that ever happen?
Yeah.
Now you don't have to flip a coin. Now your seller can say, you know what? I'm going to disclose those two offers now. Seller's direction, I'm going to disclose those two offers, and now you let them fight it out for the last couple of pennies. Yeah. But don't do it the first round. If you're a buyer and you says, I'm not doing that garbage, right? You put a clause in there, and we'll have to create the clause. Maria is supposed to create the clause. In the event that my offer is subject to any competing offers, or in the event that the seller decides to disclose the contents of my offer is hereby null and void and withdrawn.
Automatically.
So now the seller's he can't say, hey, I got 4 offers. Now he's got to say, I got 3 offers. Okay with that? Right. So you have to talk to us as you go along when those things happen. Again, it's not a big deal. It's full disclosure material facts. It's no longer verbal. It's no longer, you have to disclose material facts. So if your seller says, look, there's a crack in the basement and I'm just going to put this little lamb wire in front of it and nobody knows the difference. Anybody see a problem? Yeah. Somebody says that my mother died upstairs, but my lawyer says I don't have to tell anybody. Anybody see a problem?
Yeah.
All right. So anybody know the answer?
So would you tell the seller when you go for listing appointment? Say, don't tell me something that you don't
That's
want me to tell it.
Correct. I don't want to know.
Which you're probably doing already.
You know what we used to do before when we had all those grow-ups. Remember we had the Russia grow-ups and that? And people would start going on Google and start searching, was this house ever go up, and search the address, and I'm saying, you don't want to know. What are you searching that for? You don't want to know. So when it comes to deaths, the lawyer is absolutely correct. You do not have to disclose deaths in the house. But as an agent, if you're aware there's death in the house, you are obligated to disclose it. That should take that part.
I'm obligated to that.
The crack in the wall is a physical material fact. There it is. If you're aware of the crack in the wall, you must disclose it in writing. Disclosure.
The other example is if the client says,
if it's a death in the house, I don't know, because if I'm a buyer, if the buyer's concerned about a death in the house, it's up to the buyer to put a clause in there saying the seller warrants that there's no death in the house. That's a buyer's responsibility, not seller's.
but you also don't want to cause issues.
disclose your thing.
You don't have to disclose it.
I had the situation once, and
But I would. But I would.
Yeah, you don't want to cause problems for
the
yourself.
lawyer said you don't have to disclose, but get a letter from the seller that instructed me not to disclose.
I don't know if that would hold up.
You're talking about death. You're talking about death?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But if a buyer comes in saying, hey, was there a death in the house, you have to acknowledge it.
The other example is as simple as if a client says every spring when it dethaws, we get a little bit of water in the basement. You have to disclose that as well. Yeah. spring thaw, even something as little as that.
What if they fix it?
If they fix it every spring, you still have to disclose it. Because you know what's gonna happen every spring when the ice thaws.
So when it comes to death, it's funny deaths. I always say like, some people say it doesn't matter, you won't have to disclose it, you know, everybody dies, people die, okay, that's fine. An example I gave you last week is the husband died and one of the kids died. But the wife killed him, cut him up and burned him up in the furnace.
Oh,
And the young kid, the young kid went to a suitcase and full of cement and they're hiding up in the garage. So now you have to disclose the death in the house? Right? So when does it matter? When it doesn't matter? On the buyer side, RICO information guide, 13 pages.
Everybody.
Working with a realtor, the BRA form. There is no limited service buyer agreement. There's a limited service seller's agreement, but not a limited service buyer's agreement because you're either self-represented or you have signed a dealer. Follow me there? You've got your, okay, how to terminate is another thing too. And on these agreements, they have to be how to terminate. On the sample I did, it says that the termination agreement is stated on the agreement. You follow me there? I don't know if that's going to fly or not. On the Schedule A that I put on for our listings and probably for our BRAs, I say the termination date because we have to address how the property can be terminated. And I put on there saying that this agreement will terminate on the expiry date as explained on page 1.
I think it's in the RICO guide though, isn't it? How to terminate? It's only how to make a complaint.
You have to state how it can terminate. Reason why I say that is because somebody's going to decide on a DR designated representation. It says on there that if Tess goes on vacation for, let's say, 2 months, you're going back home, and she's going to give it to Nabil, and the seller says, no. Then the agreement's at an end, according to the contract. So that's why I had to cover it saying, no, it's not at an end. I had the right to assign somebody else. So that's the purpose of that. I don't know whether it works or not, but that was my thoughts. Full disclosure material facts, transaction. Okay, that's fine. 141 done.
There's your TRESA training.
You guys ready now?
Yep.
Not gonna apply the same for leases.
Leases, same thing, and commercial.
And Lisa's even has its own CCR form now, just for a tenant, with a different form now.
So just so you know, when I said before that they added 1,000 different forms, what they did is they took out the client information, they added tenant forms and they added commercial forms. So if you've got a working with the realtor commercial, you've got a working with the realtor tenant. So you've got 3 sets of all these forms.
But we will have all the forms. If you use the girls to get your packages together, they'll send you all the forms you need. So just have to remember to save them if you're doing your own stuff.
I'm gonna send you the RICO bulletins. There's 4 of them. You need to read them. You can go to your RICO site and you can see all the different things you can do on that. Yeah, it's complicated, but it's not. Good. All right, so we're gonna do lunch now. Before we do that, anybody have any listings they want to talk about, buyers they want to talk about?
UGC coming up. It's cheaper than Wilson. It's bungalow in big lot, 55 by 140 feet. Good for innovation, good for to build in. It's gonna be around like 1.3, but the house they are saying there for 3 million, 4 million. So if you want to get it down, you know. It's 3 bedroom, 3 bedroom in basement, it's separate income.
Anybody else? How about open houses? How were the open houses on the weekend? You did an open house?
In open house in a condo which in Dolphins and exemption. And we did all the preparation, we were going to ask the permission from the people. This is not about the reception, we asked to come down and this time. So I asked the owner if he can check it out, it was downstairs or upstairs. Only 1 person.
1 person for the Young and Eglinton, was that Sonic?
Yeah, condos are harder.
One person for a condo?
We had 8 people in the open house, $1.8 million.
So Shiv had 8 people through a $1.8 million property
Sunday or?
Saturday. We don't-
Saturday?
Five each.
Anybody else?
One plus 10 with the 2 washrooms, very nice opportunity.
That's a cheap price, man. 1+1, 2 washrooms, it's like, how much, what was the price of them?
5 each in Alpha Valley. It's
What-
being sold in the range of 600.
600,000, huh? That's pretty good. 14 people through in Markham, nice. Nice.
I have one last Saturday.
Saturday,
Nobody came.
nobody came. Did you do it on Realtor.ca? Nobody at all?
Brampton.
Brampton? Did I see a hand back there?
Eight people in Oshawa.
Oshawa had eight people at Oshawa? Eight one day, 6. What's the price on that one? What's the list price? 1,000,009.
100.
Good.
So better.
So as I said, the market is, we're starting to see a little bit of movement there. We're starting to see some positive things. Americans have dropped their rates. I think Canadians aren't going to increase their rates, so things are okay. We got Diwali lunch right now.
I just want to
Appreciate
say
your time.
something.
She was good.
Carly is more of an Indian than any other Indian here.
Thank you. I'm very proud to be married to an Indian. I tell everybody.
She's a more dressed Indian than anyone else here. And I'm sure there's a team. I want Carly to say a few words about Diwali.
I'll speak in Hindu as well. Yeah.
That's what they want to understand anyway.
So, so we're doing the Diwali lunch right now. Just so everybody knows, Diwali is it's a festival of lights. It's darkness over evil.
You overcome darkness now stepping into the
But
light.
basically, it signifies the goodness over evil. And that's what it's all about. It's all celebration, happiness, and the festival. That's what Diwali is all about. So everybody's happy. I can see happy faces, lots of people here. And I told them, I said, make sure the lunch is no spicy.
Spicy.
We just want to keep it secret this time. Yeah, somebody is providing the.
No.
Who's providing?
Everybody together.
Everybody they know.
Well, thank you for all of you.
Just before we finish, just let me do one prayer for everybody, because I mean, we have to, during this celebration, we also have to remember. Younger people. Yeah, we have to remember those people who are unfortunate and they have, some difficulty, and there is so much going on in the world. I don't want to mention anything, but you know what is happening around the globe. So please, pray for those people who are, in suffering and who are going through a lot of pain and agony. Anyway, just do one short prayer. In that prayer, it just says that we want everybody to be happy, healthy, and nobody in the world should suffer. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santo niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu ma kaschid dukh bhag bhaveda. Om Shanti, 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 peace. And everybody be happy, healthy, and God bless you. Happy Diwali.
Happy Diwali.
Amen.